The crystal chandeliers of the Grand Azure Hotel cast prismatic light across white tablecloths as I took my seat at table 17. Not the family table. Not even close to it. I was positioned near the kitchen doors, where the constant swing of servers created a draft that made the candles flicker. "Claire, you actually came," my sister Amanda said, pausing at my table with her new husband Marcus. Her white gown probably cost more than most people's cars. "I'm surprised you could afford the gas money to get here." I set down my water glass carefully. "Congratulations on your wedding, Amanda. Everything looks beautiful." "It should," Marcus interjected, adjusting his designer cufflinks. "This venue charges $30,000 just for the reception space. Not including food, obviously." "Obviously," I said softly. Amanda leaned closer and I caught the scent of her expensive perfume. "Honestly, Claire, I almost didn't send you an invitation. Mom said it would be embarrassing having you here in your... What are you wearing?" "Something from a discount store." I glanced down at my simple navy dress. It was nice, professional, purchased from a regular department store. "It's comfortable." "Comfortable," Amanda repeated, laughing. "Did you hear that, Marcus? Comfortable. Claire, this is a luxury event. People should look sophisticated. Not like they're going to a job interview at a call center." "I think I look fine," I said evenly. Marcus snorted. "Sure. Fine for a Tuesday morning meeting. Not fine for the Grand Azure Hotel. Do you have any idea what the average net worth is in this room?" "I couldn't guess," I replied. "Let's just say you're bringing down the average considerably," Amanda said, then swept away toward the family table where my parents sat with her in-laws. The first course arrived. A delicate arrangement of seared scallops with microgreens and some kind of foam I couldn't identify. It was beautifully plated. I ate slowly, watching the servers move with practiced precision through the room. "Claire." My mother's voice carried across 3 tables. She was waving me over, her diamond bracelet catching the light. I walked over carefully, aware of eyes following me. "Yes, Mom. We're taking a family photo." "Well, the immediate family." She gestured to where Amanda, Marcus, Dad and Marcus's parents were gathering. "You can wait here." "I'm immediate family," I said quietly. "Oh, sweetie." Mom patted my arm. "You know what I mean. The people who actually contributed to this event. The people who matter in Amanda's life. You understand, don't you?" I nodded and stepped back. Through the camera lens, I watched my family smile and pose, a perfect portrait of success and celebration. The photographer didn't even glance my way. When I returned to my table, I found my father standing there, examining the place setting. "Claire, we need to talk about something," he said. "What is it, Dad?" He sat down in the chair across from me, something he'd never done at a family event. Usually he avoided me entirely. "Your mother and I have been discussing your situation." "My situation?" "Your financial situation. Your life situation. All of it." He folded his hands on the table. "We're concerned." "Concerned about what?" "About your future. You're 32 years old. You work some entry-level job at an office we can't even remember the name of. You drive a 7-year-old sedan. You live in a rental apartment." He counted these off like they were crimes. "Meanwhile, Amanda has built a real life. Real success." "I'm happy with my life," I said. "Happy?" He frowned. "Claire, happiness isn't the point. Achievement is the point. Contribution is the point. Look around this room. These are successful people. Doctors, lawyers, entrepreneurs, executives. What are you?" "I'm an analyst," I said. "An analyst." He said it like the word tasted bad. "That's what unsuccessful people call themselves when they don't have a real title." "What do you actually do, Claire?" "I analyze data and make recommendations." "For who?" "Some tiny company no one's heard of." "Something like that." He shook his head. "Your mother and I didn't raise you to be mediocre. We raised you to achieve. But you've consistently disappointed us. Do you know how embarrassing it is when people ask about our daughters? Amanda's a marketing executive married to a commercial real estate developer, we say. And Claire does something with computers." "I'm sorry you're embarrassed," I said. "Sorry isn't enough. Action is what matters. We've decided to cut you off completely." I blinked. "Cut me off from what?" "From the Family Financial Support Network." No more birthday checks. No more Christmas gifts. No emergency fund access. You're on your own. Maybe tough love will motivate you to actually make something of yourself. I haven't asked you for money in 10 years, I pointed out. That's not the point. The point is that you're not trying. You're settling. And we won't enable that anymore. He stood up. Now please try not to embarrass us further tonight. Don't talk to Amanda's in-laws. Don't mention what you do for work if anyone asks. Just stay at your table and eat quietly. He walked away. I sat there for a moment, then picked up my fork and continued eating. The scallops were excellent. The main course was filet mignon with truffle butter and roasted vegetables. As it was being served, my brother-in-law Marcus stopped by my table again. Claire, quick question, he said. What kind of car do you drive? A Honda Civic. He laughed. A Civic. That's perfect. That's exactly what I would have guessed. Do you know what I drive? I don't. A Tesla Model S Plaid. Top of the line. 0 to 60 in under 2 seconds. It costs more than you probably make in a year. He waited for my reaction. That's nice, I said. Nice. He seemed disappointed by my response. It's not nice, Claire. It's exceptional. It's what successful people drive. But I guess you wouldn't understand that. You're probably thinking a Civic is perfectly adequate. It gets me where I need to go. See, that's your problem right there. That mindset. Adequate. Gets me where I need to go. Successful people don't think like that. We think about excellence. About status. About making statements. I prefer to be practical, I said. Marcus leaned against the back of an empty chair. Let me tell you something, Claire. Amanda almost didn't invite you tonight. Did you know that? She mentioned something about it. She was worried you'd make her look bad. Having a sister who's basically, well, let's be honest, who's basically poor. It reflects on her, you know? People judge you by your family. I'm not poor, I said evenly. Oh, come on. You're eating at table 17. Do you know where that is in the hierarchy? That's the we had to invite them but don't want them too close table. That's the pity table. I see. And let me give you some advice from someone who's actually made it in the world. If you want people to respect you, you need to show success. Dress better. Get a better car. Move to a better neighborhood. Fake it till you make it, you know? I'll keep that in mind, I said. He patted the table. Good talk. Oh, and maybe don't order dessert. I saw it on the menu. It's a $40 chocolate souffle. Probably more than you'd want to spend on a single course. I watched him walk away, then took another bite of my steak. It was cooked perfectly, medium rare with a pink center. Amanda appeared as dessert was being served. Claire, we're going to do the cake cutting soon. Please don't get in any of the photos. I've instructed the photographer to focus on people who actually look like they belong here. Understood, I said. And honestly, after dinner you can probably leave early. You've shown up, you've been seen, that's enough. I'm sure you're not comfortable here anyway. This isn't really your world. What is my world? I asked. He thought about it. I don't know. Cheap restaurants? Bargain shopping? Netflix and microwave dinners? Whatever it is, it's definitely not 5-star hotels and luxury weddings. You're probably right, I said quietly. I know I'm right. Look, I'm not trying to be mean, Claire. I'm being honest. You and I are just different. I'm ambitious. I want the best. You're content with less. That's fine for you, but it means we don't really have much in common anymore. She started to walk away, then turned back. Oh, one more thing. Don't try to take any leftover food home. The hotel staff has been instructed about portion control and waste management. Besides, it would look really tacky. I nodded and she left. The cake cutting happened without me. The bouquet toss happened without me. The first dance, the toasts, the special moments. I watched them all from table 17 near the kitchen doors, eating my $40 chocolate souffle slowly. It was around 9:30 when my mother came over with my Aunt Susan and Uncle Richard. Claire, your aunt and uncle were just asking about you, Mom said in that tone that meant she was annoyed she had to acknowledge my existence. Hi Aunt Susan, Uncle Richard, I said. Claire, we haven't seen you in ages. Aunt Susan hugged me. How are you doing? I'm well, thank you. We were just asking your mother about your life. She said you work in an office. That's right. Doing what exactly? Uncle Richard asked. My mother interrupted. Something with data entry, I think. Nothing too exciting. Susan, Richard, you should try the champagne. It's from France. $25 a glass. Data analysis, actually, I corrected gently. Right, Mom said dismissively. Anyway, Claire has a nice little life. Nothing spectacular, but she seems content. Don't you, dear? I'm content, I confirmed. Aunt Susan looked uncomfortable. Well, that's what matters, isn't it? Being happy. If you say so, Mom replied. Though I've always thought achievement matters more than happiness. But maybe that's just me. Maybe some people are meant to be followers rather than leaders. Mom, I started. It's fine, Claire. We all have different levels of capability. You found your level. There's no shame in that. He smiled at my aunt and uncle. Come on, let me introduce you to Marcus's parents. They own a development company worth $50 million. They walked away. I finished my soufflé. Around 10 o'clock, as the dancing was in full swing, my father approached with my sister's father-in-law, Mr. Thompson. Claire, this is Robert Thompson, Marcus's father, Dad said. Nice to meet you, I said, standing politely. Mr. Thompson shook my hand with a grip that seemed designed to demonstrate dominance. Your father tells me you work in data analysis. That's correct. Which company? I hesitated. It's a small firm. You probably haven't heard of it. Try me. I know most of the business landscape in this city. I'd rather not talk about work at a wedding, I said diplomatically. Dad frowned. Claire's always been secretive about her job. Probably because it's nothing to brag about. Not like Amanda's position at Sterling Marketing. Marketing is a good field, Mr. Thompson agreed. Real influence, real impact. Data analysis, though, that's more of a support role, isn't it? Behind-the-scenes stuff. Someone has to do it, I said. True. The world needs worker bees, not just queens. He chuckled at his own joke. But tell me, Claire, what are your career goals? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? I'm happy where I am. Happy where you are. He exchanged a look with my father. That's the problem with your generation. No ambition. In my day we were always pushing forward, climbing higher. Now everyone just wants to be happy at their mediocre jobs. Maybe happiness is a worthy goal, I suggested. Happiness is what happens when you achieve something meaningful, Mr. Thompson said. Not what you settle for when you can't achieve anything at all. Dad nodded along enthusiastically. Exactly what I've been trying to tell her for years. But Claire has always been the stubborn one. Never listened to advice. That's a shame, Mr. Thompson said. With the right mentorship, even someone at her level could probably improve their situation. Though I suppose some people lack the fundamental drive required for real success. They walked away together, laughing about something. I sat back down. The evening wore on. More relatives stopped by to ask what I did for work, where I lived, what my plans were. Each conversation felt like an assessment I was failing. My cousin Jennifer asked if I was still renting that tiny apartment. My uncle Paul asked if I'd ever consider going back to school, to actually make something of yourself. My grandmother asked if I had any prospects at all, dear, because you're not getting any younger. I answered each question calmly, deflecting when I could, admitting the truth when I couldn't. At 11 o'clock, as I was considering leaving, Amanda found me again. Claire, I need to talk to you about something, she said, sitting down at my table uninvited. What is it? This is awkward, but the hotel just sent me the final invoice. There's a charge on here that doesn't make sense. What kind of charge? It says there's a room reserved under your name. Room 2847. Did you book a room here? I did. Her eyes widened. You booked a room at the Grand Azure? Claire, do you know how much rooms cost here? The basic rooms start at $600 a night. I'm aware. Then why would you, wait, are you actually staying here tonight? Are you that desperate to pretend you're part of this world? I had my reasons, I said. Your reasons? Amanda's voice rose. Claire, this is pathetic. You can't afford to stay here. You're going to max out a credit card or something trying to impress people who already know you're not at our level. Please tell me you didn't actually check in. I checked in this afternoon. Oh my God. She put her face in her hands. This is so embarrassing. What if someone sees you in the elevator or the lobby? What if they realize you're staying in the same hotel as all our successful guests? They'll think you're some kind of stalker or groupie. I'm just staying overnight, I said. I'll leave in the morning. You need to cancel it. Right now. Get your deposit back, cut your losses. Claire, I'm serious. This is beyond inappropriate. You're trying to infiltrate a lifestyle you don't belong in. The room is paid for, I said quietly. Then get a refund. I'm sure they have cancellation policies. She stood up. I'm going to talk to Mom and Dad about this. This is exactly the kind of delusional behavior we've been worried about. She stormed off toward the family table. I could see her talking animatedly to our parents, gesturing back at me. All three of them looked over, wearing identical expressions of disappointment and disgust. A few minutes later, all three of them came to my table. Several nearby guests turned to watch. Claire, Amanda told us about the room, Mom said in a harsh whisper. What were you thinking? I was thinking I'd need a place to stay, I said. You live 40 minutes away, Dad said. You could have driven home. Instead, you wasted hundreds of dollars trying to pretend you're something you're not. I wanted to stay at the hotel, I said simply. This is exactly what we're talking about, Mom said. This kind of irresponsible financial decision-making. This is why you're stuck where you are in life. You spend money on things you can't afford instead of investing in your future. Amanda crossed her arms. I want you to cancel that room right now. This is my wedding and I won't have you embarrassing me by pretending to be a guest at a luxury hotel. I am a guest at a luxury hotel, I pointed out. I'm staying here. You're crashing here, Amanda corrected. There's a difference. Real guests belong here. You're just playing dress up. I think I'll keep my room, I said. Dad's face reddened. Claire Elizabeth Williams, you will cancel that room immediately, or we will call the hotel management ourselves and have them remove you from the premises. On what grounds? On the grounds that you can't afford to be here and you're clearly having some kind of mental break thinking you can just... Is everything all right here? We all turned. A man in an immaculate black suit had approached our table. His name tag identified him as James Morrison, hotel manager. He had the kind of composed, professional demeanor that came from years of handling difficult situations. We're fine, Dad said quickly. Just a family discussion. I apologize for interrupting, James said smoothly. I just wanted to check in on our VIP guest and ensure everything is meeting expectations. VIP guest? Amanda looked confused. James smiled at me. Ms. Williams, I trust your suite is satisfactory? We upgraded you to the presidential level as requested. The silence at the table was profound. The presidential level? Mom repeated faintly. Of course, James said. Ms. Williams always stays in our finest accommodations when she's here. Although Ms. Williams, I must say we're delighted to have you attending an event in the ballroom this time rather than just staying with us during your business trips. Business trips? Dad said. James looked between my family members and me, his professional instincts clearly sensing tension. I hope I haven't spoken out of turn. You're saying Claire stays here regularly? Amanda asked. I shouldn't discuss guest information, James said carefully. But given the circumstances and with Ms. Williams present, I think I can confirm that yes, she's one of our most valued regular guests. There must be some mistake, Mom said. Our daughter can't afford. Mom, I said quietly. Please. No, Claire, this is absurd. This man clearly has you confused with someone else. Tell him. Tell him there's been a mix-up. James pulled out his phone, tapped the screen a few times and showed it to my mother. This is Ms. Williams's profile in our guest management system. Is this not her? Mom stared at the screen, then at me. I don't understand. Perhaps we should discuss this elsewhere, I suggested. No, Amanda said sharply. We're discussing this right here. Mr. Morrison, how many times has my sister stayed at this hotel? James looked uncomfortable. I really shouldn't. How many times? He glanced at me. I gave a small nod. According to our records, Ms. Williams has stayed with us 73 times over the past 4 years. She maintains an annual membership in our Diamond Elite program, which requires a minimum spend of $200,000 per year in room rates alone. Amanda actually stumbled backward. $200,000? That doesn't include dining, spa services, or event space rentals, James added. Ms. Williams, your family seems surprised by this information. I apologize if I've created any awkwardness. It's fine, James, I said. Wait, Dad said, his voice strange. Event space rentals? We really should discuss this in private, I said, standing up. The Grand Azure has been honored to host several of Ms. Williams's corporate events, James said, including an annual conference that brings in approximately 3,000 attendees each year. We're already looking forward to next year's booking. Marcus appeared, drawn by the commotion. What's going on? Apparently Claire is some kind of secret millionaire who stays at luxury hotels all the time, Amanda said, her voice dripping with sarcasm. Which is obviously ridiculous. Mr. Morrison clearly has her confused with someone else. James's expression shifted slightly from apologetic to something more professional. I assure you there is no confusion. Ms. Williams is not only a valued guest but... He paused. But what? Dad demanded. I should really let Ms. Williams explain, James said. All eyes turned to me. The nearby tables had gone quiet, guests openly listening now. Claire, Mom said slowly. What is he talking about? Before I could answer, a woman in a sharp business suit approached. Her badge identified her as Patricia Chin, Director of Operations. James, I need to speak with you about... Oh. He stopped, seeing our group. Ms. Williams. I didn't realize you were here for a personal event. I hope everything has been perfect. Everything's been lovely, Patricia. Thank you. Patricia looked at my family. These must be your relatives. How wonderful that the event is being held here. Ms. Williams, if you need anything at all tonight, please don't hesitate to call me directly. Ms. Williams doesn't need to call anyone, Amanda said coldly. This is my wedding and I'm the one who booked this venue. Patricia's smile remained but her eyes cooled. Of course. Though technically the booking was made through Sterling Events, which is one of our corporate partners. The actual contract is with the property ownership group. So, Amanda said. So the ownership group has final approval on all events, Patricia explained. We're very pleased they approved your wedding, Mrs. Thompson. They. Dad said. Who are they? Patricia looked at James. James looked at me. I could see both of them calculating what they should say. Perhaps it's time, I said quietly. Time for what? Mom demanded. A third person approached our table. An older gentleman in an expensive suit, walking with the confidence of someone who owned everything around him. His name tag read, Michael Reynolds, Regional Vice President, Azure Luxury Hotels. Excuse me, he said pleasantly. I don't mean to interrupt a family celebration, but I saw Ms. Williams was here and wanted to say hello personally. He shook my hand warmly. Claire, wonderful to see you. I trust James and Patricia have been taking excellent care of you. As always, Michael, I said. Outstanding. And I wanted to let you know that the quarterly reports are ready for your review. I'll have them sent to your office on Monday as usual. The color drained from my father's face. Her office. Michael smiled at my father. You must be very proud of your daughter, Mr. Williams. Not many people accomplish what she has by age 32. I don't. I'm not. Dad couldn't form a complete sentence. I'm sorry, Amanda interrupted, her voice shaking. Who exactly are you? Michael Reynolds. I oversee the Azure Luxury Hotel's East Coast operations. Which means I report directly to the ownership board. He paused. Which includes Ms. Williams as the majority shareholder. The world seemed to stop spinning. Majority shareholder, Mom repeated numbly. That's correct. Ms. Williams owns 51% of Azure Luxury Hotels International, which includes this property and 47 others across 12 countries. Marcus laughed. Sounded slightly hysterical. That's impossible. Claire drives a Honda Civic. I like my Civic, I said softly. Claire, Dad said slowly. Is this true? I looked at my family. My sister in her expensive wedding gown. My brother-in-law with his designer suit and Tesla. My parents with their diamond jewelry and superior attitudes. All of them staring at me like I'd suddenly grown a second head. Yes, I said simply. It's true. But how? Amanda whispered. I started a data analysis company in my 20s. We developed predictive algorithms for hospitality markets. Azure Hotels bought my company 4 years ago for their algorithm, But part of the deal was that I retained majority ownership in the parent company. I also sit on the board and oversee certain strategic initiatives. You're a data analyst, Dad said weakly. I am. I analyze market data, revenue projections, customer behavior patterns, expansion opportunities, and dozens of other factors. I just do it for a company worth approximately $8 billion. Mom sat down heavily in an empty chair. $8 billion. That's the current valuation, yes. Amanda's voice rose. Then why do you dress like that? Why do you drive that car? Why do you live in a rental apartment? Because I like my clothes. I like my car. And I like my apartment. I don't need to prove anything to anyone. You let us think you were poor. Mom said accusingly. You assumed I was poor. I never said I was. You never corrected us. You never asked. You just decided. All of you. I looked at each of them in turn. You decided I was a failure because I didn't perform success the way you wanted me to. I was content with that. I didn't need your approval. But you embarrassed us. Dad said. I embarrassed you by not living up to your arbitrary standards. That's different. James cleared his throat. Ms. Williams, about the wedding event tonight. Given the circumstances, should we proceed with the standard post-event protocols? What protocols? Amanda asked nervously. The event was booked at our standard rate, Patricia explained. 15% discount through Sterling Events. However, when a majority shareholder's family member is involved, we typically apply a family courtesy adjustment. A courtesy adjustment? Marcus said hopefully. Yes. We charge full rate. No discounts. No deferrals. Full payment due within 30 days instead of our usual 60-day payment plan option. Amanda's face went pale. But the invoice you sent earlier was the discounted amount. $30,000 for the space, plus catering plus service fees. With the family courtesy adjustment, the total comes to $42,000. Due in full by December 1st. That's in 30 days. Marcus said. Yes, sir. We can't pay that much in 30 days. We were counting on the payment plan. Patricia's smile remained perfect. I understand. Unfortunately, the policy is quite clear when family members of the ownership board are involved. We maintain strict standards to avoid any appearance of preferential treatment. Dad stood up. Now wait just a minute. Claire, you can't let them do this. You're on the board. You can override this policy. I could, I agreed. But why would I? Because we're your family. My family. The family that put me at table 17. The family that told me I was an embarrassment. The family that said I couldn't afford the dessert. The family that was ashamed to have me in their photographs. My voice remained calm. That family. Claire, please, Mom said. We didn't mean. You meant every word. You always have. For years you've treated me like I was less than. Like I was a disappointment. Like I was something to be hidden away and ignored. We just wanted you to succeed. Dad protested. I did succeed. You just never bothered to notice because my success didn't look like what you expected. Amanda stepped forward. Claire, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't know. You didn't know because you didn't care to know. You made assumptions and never questioned them. But we're family, Mom said desperately. Are we? Because family usually doesn't treat each other the way you've treated me. Michael cleared his throat. Ms. Williams, I hate to interrupt, but there's another matter. The annual board meeting is next week and we need to finalize the venue. You mentioned possibly hosting it here. I did. But given tonight's experience, I'm thinking we might choose a different property. Perhaps the Azure Monte Carlo. Excellent choice. That would mean approximately 800 guests, correct? Board members, executives, and their families. That's right. We'll make arrangements immediately. The Monte Carlo booking would generate approximately $2 million in revenue for that property. Dad's face went even paler. $2 million? Claire, you can't take that away from this hotel. Think of the local economy. The jobs. I am thinking of them. I'm thinking they deserve a hotel owner who isn't being actively insulted by her own family in the ballroom. James's phone buzzed. He glanced at it. Ms. Williams, I'm being informed that several guests are asking about room bookings for future events. Apparently word has spread about who you are. Should I process these at standard rates or? Standard rates for everyone except immediate family. For them, use the no discount family courtesy rate. Understood. Uncle Richard approached hesitantly. Claire, sweetheart, I'm sure we all said some things tonight that came out wrong. They came out exactly how you meant them, Uncle Richard. You asked if I had any prospects. You suggested I was running out of time. You implied I was a failure. I smiled sadly. The funny thing is, I never needed your validation. I was fine being underestimated. It made my life simpler. Aunt Susan was crying. We didn't understand. You didn't try to understand. There's a difference. Patricia's phone rang. She answered, listened, and then looked at me. Ms. Williams, the hotel concierge, is asking about the 3 vehicles that were parked in the VIP section. Apparently, security is questioning their authorization. 2 Teslas and a Mercedes. Are those your family's vehicles? Marcus nodded. That's mine and Amanda's parents' cars. And the Mercedes is ours, Dad said. I see. Well, the VIP section is reserved for ownership, executive staff, and their approved guests. Since Ms. Williams has not designated any of you as approved guests, I'm afraid those vehicles will need to be moved to standard parking. Standard parking is 3 blocks away, Marcus said. It's 11 at night. Yes, sir. The valet can retrieve your vehicles if you'd like, but there will be a $50 convenience fee per vehicle. Dad looked at me. Claire, this is petty. Is it? This entire evening, you've all made it clear that I don't belong in your world. That I'm not at your level. Now you want me to give you access to mine. Michael's phone rang. He answered, spoke briefly, and then addressed my sister. Mrs. Thompson, I'm being informed that the hotel restaurant charge for your rehearsal dinner last night is being reviewed. It was previously comped as a courtesy, but given the changed circumstances. How much was the rehearsal dinner? I asked. $8,000, Michael said. Amanda swayed. You're going to charge us for that too? It's standard policy when the family courtesy protocols are applied. Claire, please. Amanda grabbed my arm. We can't afford all of this. The wedding already cost us everything we had saved. If you make us pay full price for everything, we'll be in debt for years. I looked at her hand on my arm, then at her face. Tears were streaming down her cheeks, ruining her perfect makeup. You should have thought of that before you told me to stick to fast food, I said quietly. I pulled my arm away and turned to James. Please prepare the updated invoice for the Thompson family. Full amounts, 30-day payment terms, no exceptions. Yes, Ms. Williams. Claire, you can't do this. Marcus said. This is vindictive. This is cruel. Is it? Or is it just the natural consequence of your own behavior? I picked up my small purse from the table. You all spent the evening making it very clear that money determines worth. That success is measured in dollars and status symbols. So here's your lesson. I have more money than all of you combined. I have more success than you ever imagined. And I still don't think you're worth very much. Claire Elizabeth Williams. Dad's voice was sharp with authority. Or it tried to be. That tone doesn't work anymore, Dad. You have no authority over me. You never really did, but now you definitely don't. Mom stood up. If you do this, if you charge us these fees and take away the discounts, we'll never forgive you. Good, I said simply. Then we'll be even. I started walking toward the exit. Behind me, I could hear my family starting to argue with James and Patricia, their voices rising in panic and desperation. Other guests were pulling out their phones, probably already texting about the drama unfolding at table 17. As I reached the ballroom doors, Michael caught up with me. Ms. Williams, I apologize if our staff revealed more than we should have tonight. It's fine, Michael. It was time. The board meeting in Monte Carlo, you're serious about that? Completely serious. Michael, I want you to make a note in our booking system. The Williams family is no longer eligible for any corporate discounts, partnership rates, or courtesy adjustments at any Azure property worldwide. Understood. I'll make sure that's implemented immediately. Thank you. I took the elevator to my suite on the presidential level. The doors closed, finally muffling the sounds of my sister's wedding disaster. As the elevator rose, I caught sight of my reflection in the mirrored walls. I was still wearing my simple navy dress from a regular department store. I was still the same person I'd been when I arrived. The only difference was that now my family knew the truth. And I was absolutely fine with that. The elevator chimed softly as it reached my floor, and the doors slid open to reveal the quiet, elegant hallway of the presidential level. Behind me, somewhere far below, my family was learning that sometimes the person you underestimate is the one who holds all the power. I smiled and walked toward my suite, already planning which Azure property I'd visit next month. After all, I owned 47 others to choose from.
Hi, I'm Emma Thompson, and this is the story of how an abandoned farm turned me from the family disappointment into someone my greedy relatives couldn't ignore. Sometimes the greatest treasures are hidden in the places others consider worthless. I still remember the day of the will reading like it was yesterday. The mahogany-paneled law office felt suffocating as our family lawyer, Mr. Harrison, adjusted his glasses and began reading my parents' final wishes. The tragic car accident that took both of them had left a $50 million fortune to be divided between my sister Sarah and me. Or so I thought. To our beloved daughter Sarah, Mr. Harrison read, "We leave our investment portfolio, the family mansion, and all liquid assets." Sarah's perfectly lipsticked mouth curved into a triumphant smile. To Emma, he continued, his voice softening slightly, "We leave Grandpa Thompson's old farm property in Montana." The room fell silent. Then Sarah's laughter shattered it. "A farm?" she sneered, her designer bracelet jingling as she waved dismissively. "Oh, this is perfect." Little Emma always did prefer playing in the dirt to attending charity galas. I sat there, stunned. The 200-acre farm had been abandoned for 20 years, ever since Grandpa passed away. Dad had always called it worthless, refusing to even visit it. Now it was my only inheritance. "There must be some mistake," my Aunt Patricia interjected, her face pinched with concern that wasn't for me. Richard and Margaret would never leave their daughter with just dirt. Mr. Harrison shook his head. "The will is quite clear. The farm, including all structures and contents, belongs to Emma." Sarah stood up, smoothing her Channel dress. "Well, sis, enjoy your barns and chickens. I've got a portfolio to manage." She paused at the door, her smile cruel. "Don't worry, if you need a loan, I'm sure we can work something out. After all, what's family for?" I left the law office that day with a single manila envelope containing the farm's deed and keys. 20 years of dust coated everything when I arrived at the property the next day. The main house was a weathered 2-story structure that had seen better days, but it was the massive old barn that caught my attention. Grandpa Thompson had been an odd man, brilliant but eccentric. He'd made his fortune in mining engineering before retiring to this farm, where he spent his last years tinkering in that barn. Dad always said the old man had lost his mind, wasting his genius on a worthless piece of land. The barn door groaned as I pushed it open. Sunlight filtered through gaps in the wooden walls, illuminating decades of cobwebs. Old farming equipment sat rusting in corners. But something felt off about the space. The dimensions didn't quite match the exterior. I remember following Grandpa here as a child, watching him disappear for hours behind a hidden door. "Our little secret," he'd whisper, winking. After his death, no one could find that door. Dad searched briefly before declaring it another of his father's delusions. But I remembered. 3 taps on the north wall, then pushed the 4th board from the bottom. My hands trembled as I followed the long-forgotten pattern. Click. A section of wall swung inward, revealing a staircase descending into darkness. My phone's flashlight illuminated the way down to a massive underground room. What I saw inside made my heart stop. Covering the walls were detailed geological surveys, mining charts, and chemical analyses. In the center, sat a sophisticated testing lab, preserved under dust covers. But it was the safe in the corner that changed everything. The combination was my birthday. Grandpa never forgot it, even in his final days. Inside, I found a leather-bound journal and a USB drive. The journal's first page read, "To Emma, the only one who ever bothered to listen." As I read through his meticulous notes, tears filled my eyes. Grandpa hadn't lost his mind. He'd made a discovery that would reshape the entire mining industry. The worthless farm sat on top of one of the largest rare earth element deposits in North America. He developed a revolutionary extraction process that was both efficient and environmentally friendly. The USB drive contained detailed patents, already filed, but never activated. Grandpa had been waiting for the right moment, and the right person, to bring his discovery to life. My hands shook as I realized what this meant. The farm wasn't worthless. It was worth billions. But I knew that if my family found out, they'd try to take it from me. Sarah would hire the best lawyers, claim I wasn't competent to handle such a discovery. I needed to move carefully, protect myself before anyone realized what Grandpa had left me. I spent that night in the old house, reading through every page of his journal. In the morning, I made 3 calls to a patent lawyer, a mining engineer, and an investment banker I'd befriended during my own quiet years working in finance, a career my family had dismissed as modest. "Keep this absolutely confidential," I told each of them. "I'm about to show you something that will change everything." Over the next 6 months, I worked in secret. While Sarah posted photos of her luxury vacations and charity galas, I assembled a team of the industry's best minds. The old barn became our command center, its hidden lab modernized with cutting-edge equipment. "These patents are revolutionary," Dr. Chen, our lead engineer, explained during one late-night session. "Your grandfather's extraction process could make rare earth mining both profitable and environmentally sustainable. Do you realize what this means?" I did. With the growing demand for rare earth elements in everything from smartphones to electric vehicles, we were sitting on a gold mine. Literally and figuratively. We'd incorporated Thompson Sustainable Resources quietly through a series of shell companies. I used my savings from years of careful investing to fund initial operations. Every step was calculated to keep my family in the dark. Then came Sarah's wedding, a lavish affair at the family mansion. I almost didn't attend, but I knew my absence would raise questions. "Oh, Emma," Sarah exclaimed with false warmth when I arrived. "How's farming going?" Her new husband, a hedge fund manager, snickered. "It's quite educational," I replied mildly. "Actually, I've been meaning to ask, how's the tech sector of your portfolio performing?" Sarah's smile faltered slightly. "Why? Just curious. I heard rare earth element shortages are causing problems for manufacturers. Must be affecting stock prices." "I haven't checked recently," she admitted, clearly uncomfortable with her lack of knowledge. "You should look into it," I suggested, hiding my smile behind a champagne glass. The next morning, while Sarah jetted off to her honeymoon in the Maldives, we broke ground on our first extraction facility. By the time she returned 3 weeks later, Thompson Sustainable Resources had already secured contracts with 3 major tech manufacturers. The story broke in the Wall Street Journal. "Revolutionary mining company disrupts rare earth market." My phone exploded with calls from family members as our company's value soared past $1 billion in its first public trading day. "Emma," Sarah's voice was shrill when she finally reached me. "Why didn't you tell us? We're family." "Are we?" I asked quietly. I thought I was just the girl who got dirt for her inheritance. The next few weeks were chaos. Sarah and Aunt Patricia tried to claim that Grandpa's patents should have been part of the family estate. Their lawyers argued that I had concealed valuable assets. But Grandpa had planned everything perfectly. His will explicitly stated that all contents of the farm, including any intellectual property developed there, belonged to me. The hidden lab's existence proved he developed everything on the farm property. The final showdown came at an emergency family meeting called by Aunt Patricia. They all sat around the massive dining table in the mansion, the same table where they'd once mocked my modest career choices. You have to understand, Sarah pleaded, her designer bracelets clinking nervously. Dad would have wanted the family to share in this. I pulled out Grandpa's journal, opening to a marked page. Dear Emma, I read aloud. I'm leaving you this farm because you're the only one who saw its value beyond dollar signs. Your father and sister chase wealth, but you chased knowledge. That's why you'll succeed where they failed. The room fell silent. You know what the difference is between us, Sarah? I continued, closing the journal. When you got the family fortune, I congratulated you. When I built something of my own, you tried to take it. We can work something out, she began, but I cut her off. Actually, we can't, but I will give you some free advice. Invest in sustainable technology. Thompson Sustainable Resources is about to announce a major expansion. As I walked out of the mansion, Aunt Patricia called after me. Your parents would be ashamed of how selfish you're being. I turned back one last time. No, they'd be ashamed. They never saw what Grandpa saw in me. But that's their loss. Just like this company is your loss. Today, Thompson Sustainable Resources is valued at $12 billion. We're revolutionizing the mining industry while protecting the environment. The old farm has become a state-of-the-art research facility, though I kept the barn exactly as Grandpa left it, secret room and all. Sarah still tries to reconcile occasionally, usually when she needs something. Last month, she called about investing in our latest venture. I had my assistant direct her to our public investor relations line. The family mansion was recently put up for sale. Sarah's risky investments and lavish lifestyle had finally caught up with her. I bought it through a shell company and turned it into a science education center for underprivileged kids. Yesterday, I received an invitation to speak at my old high school's graduation ceremony. The topic? Finding value in unexpected places. I accepted immediately, already planning my speech. After all, sometimes the greatest fortune isn't what you're given, but what you discover when everyone else has stopped looking. As for the old farm, I still live in Grandpa's house, though I've renovated it thoughtfully. Every morning, I walk to the barn and tap that secret panel, remembering the man who saw past appearances to true value, both in the land and in me. They say success is the best revenge, but I've learned it's not about revenge at all. It's about proving that true worth isn't in what you inherit, but in what you create. And sometimes, the most valuable inheritance isn't money, it's the wisdom to see what others miss.
I should have seen it coming. My sister Ashley had that specific tone in her voice, the one she'd used since we were kids when she wanted something. Not asking exactly. More like announcing a decision she'd already made and daring you to object. Just need it for the weekend, she said, plucking my car keys off the kitchen counter at Mom's house. You never use it anyway. Mom looked up from her crossword puzzle and nodded. You drive that old Honda most of the time. Let Ashley take the nice one. The nice one was a black Tesla Model S. Sleek, expensive-looking, the kind of car that turned heads. I'd driven it to Mom's that morning for our usual Sunday brunch. And now Ashley's manicured fingers were already curling around the key fob. Sure, no problem, I said, taking another sip of coffee. Ashley's smile widened. Thanks, little sis. I've got this beach weekend with Marcus and his car's in the shop. Can't show up to the resort in my Civic, right? The resort, Mom repeated approvingly. Which one? The Grand Pelican. Down in Miramar Beach. 4-star reviews, ocean views, the works. Ashley was already heading toward the door. Marcus is treating me right. Unlike some people who drive beat-up Hondas at 32. I'd stopped defending myself years ago. At family gatherings I was always the practical one. The one who wore sensible shoes and drove a practical car and worked a job nobody really understood. When people asked what I did, Mom would wave her hand vaguely and say, something with computers and transportation. Have fun, I told Ashley. She paused at the door, jingling the key fob. Oh, I will. Try not to be jealous. After she left, Mom returned to her crossword. You're a good sister letting her borrow it. You know how hard she works at the salon. I didn't mention that Ashley had called me 4 times last month asking to borrow money. I'd sent it like always. Just like I'd been quietly paying half of Mom's mortgage for 3 years after Dad died, letting her think his life insurance was more generous than it actually was. The thing about being underestimated is that it becomes a kind of invisibility. Comfortable in its way. Nobody asks too many questions. Nobody expects too much. You exist in the background of family photos, the reliable one who shows up and nods and keeps things running smoothly. My phone buzzed with a text from Ashley. Thanks again. You're the best. Automobile 2 hearts. I sent back a simple thumbs up. Mom set down her crossword. You should come to the lake house next month. The whole family's going to be there for the 4th of July. Ashley's bringing Marcus, your cousin Jen is bringing her new boyfriend. It'll be fun. I'll try, I said, which was code for probably not. You always say that. Emma, you work too much. Whatever it is you're doing with computers and delivery trucks, it can wait for a weekend. Delivery trucks. That's what she thought I did. Coordinated deliveries, maybe. Dispatched routes. Something blue-collar adjacent that explained the practical Honda and the simple wardrobe and the general lack of flashiness in my life. I'll check my schedule, I said. Bring someone, Mom suggested, not for the first time. It would be nice if you had a +1 for once. Ashley had Marcus. Cousin Jen had her new boyfriend. Uncle Robert would bring Aunt Linda. Everyone paired off, coupled up, visibly successful in ways that family gatherings could measure and approve of. And then there was me. 32, single, driving a Honda Civic, doing something vague with computers. I'll see what I can do, I said, gathering my things to leave. Mom hugged me at the door. You're a good girl, Emma. I worry about you sometimes, but you're steady. That counts for something. Steady. Reliable. Practical. The words that had followed me my entire adult life. I drove home in my Honda Civic, the one with 140,000 miles and a slightly rattling passenger door. It ran perfectly, got great gas mileage, and nobody looked twice at it. Which was exactly the point. Monday morning I was at my desk when my phone buzzed. Derek from Fleet Management. Ms. Anderson, this is Derek from Fleet Management. I put down my coffee. What's up, Derek? Vehicle 47 just crossed state lines. It's currently in Alabama heading toward Florida. The GPS tracking shows it left the authorized radius yesterday afternoon around 2 p.m. I pulled up the fleet monitoring system on my screen. There it was, the black Tesla's route highlighted in red. Unauthorized movement. State line violation. No pre-approved travel authorization filed. The system was automatic. Every vehicle in our corporate fleet had GPS tracking, geofencing alerts, and compliance monitoring. It wasn't about trust. It was about liability. Insurance requirements. Federal DOT regulations for commercial vehicle operations. When you run a fleet of 73 vehicles across 5 states, you don't cut corners on documentation. Want me to send the standard protocol notification? Derek asked. I watched the little dot on my screen moving south on I-65. Ashley and Marcus, probably singing along to the radio, posting Instagram stories from the road. Not a care in the world. Vehicle 47. I'd added it to the fleet 8 months ago when we expanded into the premium transport division. Executive shuttles, corporate events, high-end client services. The Tesla was supposed to signal that Anderson Logistics Corporation was moving upmarket, competing with the established players. Instead, it was currently hauling my sister to a beach resort. Send it, I said. Derek hesitated. You sure? I know it's a family situation. That's exactly why it needs to go through proper channels. Send the notification. Yes, ma'am. The notification goes to 3 places simultaneously: the driver's phone, the registered contact, and our legal compliance team. It's automatic, triggered by the GPS system the moment unauthorized parameters are breached. You can't just take a company car across state lines without authorization. Insurance coverage changes at state borders. Liability shifts. Federal transportation regulations kick in. I'd explained all this to my legal team when we implemented the system. Sarah, our compliance officer, had insisted on 0 exceptions. Even for you? I'd asked. Especially for you, she'd said. You're the CEO. You get caught playing favorites with company assets, and it's your head on the block when the regulators come calling. So the system was automated. Impartial. No exceptions for anyone, including family members who borrowed cars without understanding what they were borrowing. My phone rang again 10 minutes later. Ashley. Emma? What the hell is this message I'm getting? I put her on speaker. What message? Something about unauthorized vehicle use and GPS tracking and immediate return required, and, wait, why is your name on this? It says, vehicle registered to Anderson Logistics Corporation, primary account holder, Emma Anderson. Oh, that, I said calmly. Yeah, it's a company car. Silence on the other end. I could hear highway noise in the background, the hum of the Tesla's electric motor. Then, a company car? Your company car? Technically it's registered to the corporation, but yes. I'm the primary account holder for all fleet vehicles. More silence. Then Marcus's voice in the background. What's wrong? Who is that? It's Emma, Ashley said, her voice tight. Apparently this isn't her personal car. What corporation? Ashley's voice had gone up an octave. You work in IT or something. Logistics, actually. I'm the CEO of Anderson Logistics Corporation. We handle transportation and fleet management for the southeastern region. 73 vehicles currently active across 5 states, with another dozen being added next quarter for the Gulf Coast expansion. Complete silence from the phone. Ashley? You still there? You're, what? Have been for 6 years. Started the company when I was 26 with a small business loan and 3 used vans. We've grown a bit since then. I could hear her breathing on the other end of the line, fast and shallow. The fleet management system automatically flags any vehicle that crosses state lines without proper authorization, I continued, keeping my voice professional. It's federal regulation compliance. DOT requirements for commercial vehicle operations. You understand? Emma, I'm on a beach weekend with my boyfriend. I understand that. Unfortunately, you're doing it in a vehicle that's subject to commercial transportation regulations. The notification already went to our legal team. They'll need you to file an incident report when you return. An incident report? Her voice cracked. Emma, this is insane. Standard procedure. Don't worry, it's mostly paperwork. Although, I pulled up the compliance documentation on my screen. You'll need to provide proof of insurance, current driver's license verification, and sign an acknowledgement that you were informed of the unauthorized use policy. Nobody told me there was a policy. Well, you did take the car without asking about any of that. I kept my voice pleasant, professional. The same tone I used with clients who tried to skirt contract terms. I assumed you checked. My fault for not being clearer about the vehicle's status. Marcus was definitely audible now in the background. What's going on? Are we in trouble? Like legal trouble? We need to turn around, Ashley said to him, her voice panicked. Then to me, Emma, please. Can't you just call off the dogs or whatever? Tell them it's fine. It's automated, Ash. The system already flagged it. Legal compliance has to follow through. Federal regulations aren't really optional, especially for commercial fleet operations. But it's your company. Which is exactly why I have to follow the rules. I pulled up our insurance documentation, scanning the relevant sections. If anything happened, accident, traffic violation, anything, and it came out that I let personal contacts use company vehicles without proper authorization, the liability alone would be enormous. We're talking potential seven-figure settlements depending on circumstances. Not to mention the regulatory penalties from the DOT. Our operating license could be suspended. I heard her tell Marcus they needed to find somewhere to turn around. Look, I said, softening my voice slightly, just drive back. Return the car to my place. File the incident report with Derek. He'll email you the form. It'll be fine. No penalties for you, just documentation for our files. Will there be consequences? For you, I mean. For me, I'll probably get a stern lecture from Sarah, our compliance officer, about keeping personal and professional boundaries clear. She's very particular about protocol. But that's my problem, not yours. Emma, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. I know you didn't. It's okay. Just turn around when you can safely do so and we'll sort out the paperwork later. She hung up without saying goodbye. I could picture them on the highway, Marcus probably furious about the ruined beach weekend, Ashley trying to explain how her boring little sister turned out to be running a multi-million-dollar logistics operation. My desk phone rang. Sarah from legal. Emma, I just got flagged about vehicle 47. I know. My sister borrowed it without realizing it was a fleet vehicle. Sarah was quiet for a moment. Your sister took a company car across state lines without authorization? She thought it was my personal vehicle. How does someone mistake a corporate fleet vehicle for a personal car? By not asking questions and making assumptions. I pulled up the vehicle documentation. She's turning around. She'll file the incident report when she returns the vehicle. Emma, you know I have to document this. I know. Do what you need to do. The board's not going to like it. The board doesn't need to like it. They need to see that we follow our own protocols regardless of personal relationships. That's the point of having protocols. Sarah sighed. You're right. I'll process the standard paperwork. But Emma, maybe don't lend out company vehicles to family members anymore. Lesson learned. Mom called an hour later. Emma, Ashley just phoned me very upset. Something about you running a company? And tracking her with GPS? She's crying in a Waffle House parking lot. It's a fleet management company, Mom. We provide logistics services for corporate clients, manage transportation operations, handle DOT compliance. The car she borrowed is part of our commercial fleet, which means it has GPS tracking for insurance and regulatory purposes. Why didn't you tell us you were a CEO? The question hung in the air between us. I tried to tell them. Multiple times over the years. But the words never seemed to land, never seemed to register as real. 4 years ago at Thanksgiving I'd mentioned starting the company. Dad had said, "That's nice, honey," and changed the subject to Ashley's promotion to senior stylist at her salon. 3 years ago I'd brought it up when Mom worried about my finances. She'd patted my hand and said, "Whatever makes you happy, dear," before asking if I'd met anyone special lately. Eventually I stopped trying. Let them think what they wanted to think. It was easier than fighting for recognition I didn't need. It never seemed important, I said finally. Not important? Emma, do you know how this looks? Ashley's out there thinking you're just some tech support person, and now she finds out you're running a whole company with GPS tracking and federal regulations. 73 vehicles across 5 states, Mom. 22 employees. We did $8.3 million in revenue last year. Silence on the other end. I could hear her breathing, the faint sound of her soap opera playing in the background. Million. Mom's voice was small, uncertain. Million. We're actually in talks with a larger firm about potential acquisition. If it goes through, the company valuation is estimated around $45 million. My stake would be approximately $32 million after taxes, investor buyouts and debt service. I could hear her sit down heavily. The soap opera went silent, she'd muted it. We're expanding into the Gulf Coast region next quarter, I continued, my voice steady. Hence why I was looking at properties in Pensacola last month when I said I had a business trip. Not vacation properties, warehouse complexes for our new regional hub. The properties you were looking at? You said you were helping a friend. I was looking at commercial real estate for fleet operations. We need about 50,000 square feet for vehicle storage, maintenance facilities, and dispatch operations. The Pensacola market is competitive, but we've got a good location identified near the port access roads. Emma. Mom's voice cracked slightly. Why didn't you say something? Why didn't you make us listen? I tried to, Mom. Remember 2 years ago at Christmas when Uncle Robert said I should find a real career like Ashley? I told him I owned a business with 18 employees. He laughed and asked if I meant an Etsy shop. Oh God. She was quiet for a long moment. What did you say? I said sure, something like that. Then I changed the subject. Because it was easier than explaining commercial fleet operations and DOT compliance to someone who'd already decided I wasn't worth taking seriously. Emma, I'm so sorry. It's okay, Mom. It's not okay. We've been treating you like you're the one who needs help. Like you're struggling. And you've been paying half your mortgage for 3 years? Yeah. I kept my voice gentle. Dad's life insurance was about $60,000. Not nothing, but not enough to cover everything you needed. I didn't want you to worry about money while you were grieving. He started crying then. Real sobs, not the delicate tears she shed at sad movies. Ashley posted on Facebook last month. Mom said between sobs. She said you'd borrowed money from her for rent. I believed it. I commented with a sad face emoji. I thought you were barely getting by. I remembered that post. Ashley's humble brag about helping family in tough times. The reality was I'd given her $3,000 for an emergency that turned out to be a shopping trip to Miami with Marcus. She'd apparently rewritten the story for social media sympathy. Mom's fine. Really. I gave Ashley that money as a gift. What she chose to do with it or how she chose to frame it publicly, that's her business. It's not fine. I've been so dismissive. Like your life doesn't matter because you're not flashy about it. And you just took it. Why did you just take it? That was the harder question. Why does anyone accept being underestimated? Sometimes it's easier than fighting for recognition. Sometimes you get tired of proving yourself to people who've already decided who you are. Sometimes you figure your success is its own reward, and you don't need validation from people who can't see past their own assumptions. I didn't need you to see it, Mom. I just needed to build it. But we should have seen it. We should have asked questions. We should have listened when you tried to tell us. Yeah, I said softly. You should have. Ashley returned the Tesla that evening. She showed up at my condo, the condo I'd bought 2 years ago in the Harbor District, the one I told them was a rental with a good deal, holding the key fob like it might explode. The condo was 1,800 square feet with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the waterfront. I'd paid cash for it after a particularly good year, unwilling to deal with mortgage complications when I was already managing business debt. The building had a doorman, a fitness center, and parking garage with reserved spaces for residents. Ashley had never visited before. She stood in my doorway looking past me at the open-concept living space, the designer furniture, the original artwork on the walls. I filed the incident report, she said stiffly. Derek said it was fine. No penalties or whatever. Good. Thank you for handling that promptly. She didn't move from the doorway. Her eyes kept darting around my space, taking in details that contradicted every assumption she'd ever made about my life. Emma, I'm sorry. For taking the car? For everything. For assuming. For not asking questions. For posting that thing on Facebook about lending me money when it was the other way around. He was crying now, mascara starting to smudge. For treating you like you're the one who needs help when you've been. God, Emma, you've been taking care of all of us. I leaned against the doorframe. Ashley, you don't have to. Yes, I do. She wiped her eyes, smearing the mascara further. I've been horrible. We all have. Treating you like you're the struggling one, the practical one, the one who just never quite got it together. And the whole time you've been running a company. A real company with employees and millions of dollars and federal regulations. It's just logistics. Transportation management. It's not that impressive. Stop it. She said it sharply enough that I blinked. Stop downplaying it. You built something real. Something successful. And instead of bragging about it or shoving it in our faces, you just kept showing up to family dinners and letting us treat you like you were barely getting by. I didn't do it for recognition. I know. That's what makes it worse. She stepped inside, finally looking around my living room with fresh eyes. This place. How much did it cost? Ashley. How much? $650,000. I paid cash 2 years ago. She sat down heavily on my couch, a beautiful mid-century modern piece I'd found at an estate sale. Jesus Christ. I've been bragging about my apartment. My shitty apartment that costs $1,200 a month and has roaches. Your apartment is nice. It suits you. Don't do that. Don't be nice about this. I don't deserve nice. She looked up at me, her face blotchy from crying. Marcus said I should ask you about the company. Really ask, not just apologize and run away. He said if I can't even be bothered to understand what my own sister does for a living, then I don't deserve to be in her life. Marcus said that? Marcus has 3 sisters. He talks to them every week. He knows what their jobs are, what their struggles are, what matters to them. He was horrified when I told him I thought you worked in IT support or something. I sat down beside her on the couch. Hey, what do you want to know? So I told her. About starting with 1 van and a dream of building something stable, something mine. About the 18-hour days for the first 2 years, living in a studio apartment and eating ramen because every dollar went back into the business. About landing the first major contract, a regional hospital system that needed reliable medical supply transport, and the terror and exhilaration of suddenly having to hire employees, manage insurance, navigate DOT regulations. I told her about the first year we turned a profit and how I'd cried in my office because it felt impossible and I'd done it anyway. About learning to manage people, some older than me, some with more experience, all of them trusting me to make decisions that affected their livelihoods. I told her about the expansion into premium services, adding the Tesla and 2 Mercedes vans for corporate clients who wanted their executives transported in style. About the contracts with tech companies, law firms, medical practices, all of them requiring discretion, reliability, and the kind of operational excellence that keeps clients renewing year after year. Why didn't you tell us? Ashley asked when I finally paused. Why not just sit us all down and explain all this? I tried. Multiple times. Nobody was listening. So you just gave up on us? Not gave up. Just stopped trying to force it. I figured if you really wanted to know, you'd ask. And if you didn't ask, then maybe you didn't really want to know. She flinched like I'd slapped her. That's fair. Brutal but fair. We sat there for a moment in silence. Outside my windows, the sun was setting over the harbor, painting the water in shades of orange and gold. Can I see it? Ashley asked suddenly. The company. The actual facility. I want to see what you built. I took her the next day. The Anderson Logistics Corporation headquarters was a 35,000 square foot facility off the interstate, with vehicle bays, maintenance stations, a dispatch center and administrative offices on the 2nd floor. I'd bought the property 3 years ago when we outgrew our original rented space, financing it through a commercial loan that I'd paid off last year. Ashley walked through it like she was touring a museum, eyes wide, asking questions about everything. The maintenance bays where our mechanics serviced the fleet. The dispatch center where coordinators managed daily routes and client requests. The conference room where I met with corporate clients and negotiated contracts. You built all this? She asked, standing in the middle of the main floor, looking up at the high ceilings and modern lighting. With a lot of help. And a lot of loans. And a lot of sleepless nights wondering if I was completely insane. I gestured around the space. But yeah. I built it. She stopped in front of the wall in the lobby where our company logo was displayed. A stylized road disappearing into a horizon line, with Anderson Logistics Corporation, in clean sans serif font underneath. Your name, she said quietly. It's your actual name on the building. Well, it's my company. I told people my sister worked in IT. Her voice was barely above a whisper. When they asked what you did. Because I genuinely didn't know. And that's on me. For never asking. For never caring enough to ask. It's on both of us. I could have pushed harder to make you listen. No. She turned to face me, her expression fierce. You shouldn't have had to push. We should have listened the first time. We should have cared enough to ask questions and actually hear the answers. My operations manager, Michelle, poked her head out of her office. She was 53, former military, and ran the day-to-day operations with the kind of precision that made everything look effortless. Ms. Anderson, the conference call with the Houston Medical Center is in 10 minutes. The contracts are ready for review. Thanks, Michelle. I'll be right there. Ashley stared as Michelle disappeared back into her office. People call you Ms. Anderson. With respect. Like you're actually the boss. Usually they just call me Emma. But yeah, in formal contexts, I'm Ms. Anderson. Final decision maker on contracts, hiring, expansion plans, all of it. You have conference calls with Houston and Atlanta and Nashville and Miami. We're negotiating service contracts for a regional hospital network. Medical supply transport, equipment transfers, patient transportation services. It's a big contract. Could add another 12 vehicles to the fleet and 6 new employees. She laughed suddenly, a slightly hysterical sound. I borrowed a company car to go to the beach. A company car owned by my CEO's sister who I thought was struggling to pay rent. Oh my God. Oh my God, Emma. To be fair, the Tesla was a bit of a splurge. Most of our fleet is practical cargo vans and box trucks. The premium vehicles are less than 10% of our operation. Emma. She grabbed my arm, her grip tight. Stop being reasonable and nice about this. I was awful. We were all awful. You deserved better than what we gave you. You weren't awful. You were just not paying attention. There's a difference. That's awful in its own way. Maybe worse, because it means we couldn't even be bothered to see what was right in front of us. I didn't have an answer for that. Because she was right. Being actively cruel would have been painful, but at least it would have meant they saw me clearly enough to aim their cruelty accurately. Being ignored, being underestimated, being invisible despite being right there. That was its own kind of hurt. Sunday brunch the following week was different. Mom had apparently called everyone. Ashley, Uncle Robert, Aunt Linda, cousins I hadn't seen in months. They were all there when I arrived at Mom's house, sitting around the dining room table with expressions ranging from embarrassed to genuinely apologetic. Emma, Mom started as soon as I walked in. We wanted to. Please don't, I interrupted gently. Please don't make this into a big production. But it is a big thing, Uncle Robert said, his usually confident voice subdued. We've been treating you like you're the family charity case when you're the most successful person at this table. More successful than all of us combined, probably. I'm not the most. You're worth $45 million if that acquisition goes through, Ashley said. I Googled it. Business acquisitions over a certain size are public record. Your company valuation is listed in the business filings. You're literally about to be worth more than all of us combined. Aunt Linda was staring at me like I'd sprouted wings. $45 million? The company is potentially worth that in an acquisition scenario. My personal stake would be about $32 million after the transaction costs, investor buyouts and debt settlements. But that's only if we sell, and I'm not sure I want to. Why wouldn't you want to sell for $32 million? Cousin Jake asked, genuinely confused. Because I like running the company. Because I built it from nothing and I'm proud of what it's become. Because selling would mean walking away from 22 employees who depend on those paychecks. From clients who trust us to handle their logistics needs. From something I created. I looked around the table at my family, all these people who'd known me my whole life without really seeing me. Money isn't the point. It never was the point. Mom reached across the table and took my hand. Her eyes were red like she'd been crying before I arrived. Then what was the point, sweetheart? Building something that mattered. Proving to myself that I could do it. Creating jobs and solving problems and being good at something difficult. I squeezed her hand. And yeah, making enough money to help when someone needed it. Even if nobody noticed where the help was coming from. We noticed, Ashley said quietly. We just didn't ask questions about it. We took the help and didn't wonder how you could afford to give it. Uncle Robert cleared his throat. Emma, I owe you a serious apology. Last Christmas I told you to get a real job. Suggested you should try retail management or something stable like that. You said I should find something with benefits and a retirement plan. Stop wasting my time on internet startup nonsense. He winced. Your logistics company isn't an internet startup. No, it's a federally registered transportation corporation with DOT compliance, commercial insurance, union contracts for our mechanics, and 401k plans for all full-time employees. But I can see how you'd confuse the two. The table went quiet. Then Aunt Linda laughed, actually laughed. This surprised burst of sound that broke the tension. She's dragging us, Aunt Linda said, still laughing. Emma's dragging us and we deserve every second of it. We've been condescending to a literal millionaire CEO for years. That broke the ice. Everyone started talking at once, asking questions, apologizing, trying to understand how they'd missed so much for so long. I answered what I could, deflected what I couldn't, and mostly just tried to navigate this strange new dynamic where my family was actually seeing me for the first time. Later, when people were clearing dishes and making coffee, Ashley pulled me aside into Mom's kitchen. "The Tesla," she said without preamble. "Can I buy it from you? The car I borrowed. I want to buy it properly." "What?" "I want to pay you back. Not just apologize, actually make it right." "What's it worth?" "Ashley, you don't have to." "Yes, I do. I've been thinking about it all week. I took something that wasn't mine, assumed it was fine because you're my sister and you just deal with it, didn't even bother to ask if it was okay. That's not acceptable. It doesn't become okay just because we're family." I thought about it, considering. The Tesla's 3 years old, about 42,000 miles on it. Fair market value would be around 42,000. She paled slightly. "Hey, I can set up a payment plan. Figure something out. Or," I said gently, "you could keep borrowing my old Honda whenever you need to. It's paid off, runs great, and you're welcome to use it. No GPS tracking, no federal compliance requirements, no incident reports." "Emma, I'm serious. You don't need to buy a Tesla to prove a point or make amends. You need to respect boundaries and communicate clearly and actually listen when people tell you things about their lives. The car isn't the issue. It never was." She hugged me then, fierce and sudden, her face pressed against my shoulder. "I'm going to be better. I promise. I'm going to actually know what's happening in your life instead of just assuming I know. I'd like that. And I'm going to tell people what you really do. When they ask about my family, I'm going to say, my sister runs a logistics company with 73 vehicles and millions in revenue. Not she does something with computers." I smiled against her hair. "That works too." The acquisition fell through 2 months later. The larger firm got cold feet about the timeline for Gulf Coast expansion, wanting to slow down our growth plans to integrate with their existing operations. I wasn't willing to compromise on the expansion schedule or cede control of the operational decisions that had made us successful in the first place. We stayed independent, which meant I stayed CEO, which meant continuing to build something I believed in, at the pace that made sense for our clients and employees. Mom started calling me every Wednesday to ask about the business. Real questions about challenges and successes, not just polite small talk. She learned the names of my senior staff, asked about specific contracts, wanted to understand what DOT compliance actually meant for day-to-day operations. Ashley took me to lunch once a month and actually listened when I talked about logistics challenges, employee management, the complexities of scaling a service business. She introduced me to her friends as my sister. She's a CEO with genuine pride instead of vague embarrassment. Uncle Robert sent me a LinkedIn connection request with a note apologizing again for dismissing my work. He started referring potential clients my way, finally understanding what kind of services we actually provided. The black Tesla stayed in the company fleet, Vehicle 47, with its GPS tracking and federal compliance requirements and automated notification systems. Every time I saw it in the parking lot at headquarters, I thought about that weekend, about Ashley taking the keys without asking, about Mom shrugging it off, about the moment when the invisible suddenly became visible. Sometimes being underestimated is comfortable. It lets you move through the world without constant scrutiny, without pressure to perform or prove yourself in every interaction. There's freedom in being overlooked. But being seen, really seen for who you are and what you've built and what you're capable of, that's something else entirely. That's worth more than comfort. Worth more than invisibility. Worth more than any Tesla or acquisition offer or family approval. I still drive my old Honda most of the time. Not because I have to, but because I want to. Because at the end of the day, the car you drive doesn't define your success. The business you build does. The problems you solve do. The people you employ and serve do. And yeah, the quiet satisfaction of knowing that when your family needs help, you can provide it, whether they understand where it comes from or not. That's worth everything.